It's time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout podcast, and this time around we're talking about the beautiful holiday lights they have on display at Central Park in Grinnell. We'll be talking with Kevin and Jennifer about that. They head up the committee that puts on those lights every year at Central Park in Grinnell. It's well worth checking out. But first, a word from our sponsors, including Grinnell State Bank. And you know, they turn the lights on during Jingle Bell Holiday at Central Park, and Santa was being hosted by Grinnell State Bank during that night, of course, at the Grinnell location. Other locations for Grinnell State Bank include Johnston, Marengo, and Polk City. They have convenient online and mobile banking services available, and they say if you're not a customer yet, you can get started. Open your accounts in just 15 minutes at Grinnell State Bank. Another sponsor is our friends Corey and Alicia Blankenfeld from Total Choice Shipping and Printing in Grinnell. And they want you to know that most of the Grinnell retailers in downtown Grinnell extending their shopping hours until 7 p.m. through the 6th of December. Also, an extra treat will be the return of the carriage rides tomorrow night, Tuesday, December 3rd. You know, small businesses struggle to compete with malls, but they're trying this week and hope customers will come out and shop small business Monday through Friday with the extended hours. Reminder again, those carriage rides tomorrow night, 5 to 7, and you can get on those carriage rides at Brown Shoe Fit, and they're absolutely free. And also, they normally sponsor the 2 live casts that I do per month from PALS Animal Shelter in Grinnell, but I'm talking about Grinnell Realty, but I want to put in an extra plug for them because they have their 14th annual toy drive going on right now. They're, of course, conveniently located at the corner of 6th and Main, and they have an early deadline this year of December 6th, and that's coming right up real soon. You can help make a child's Christmas a merry one. And what you need to do is bring a new unwrapped toy to their office at 803 6th Avenue at the corner of 6th and Main by December 6th. And they want to send out a special thanks to Christmas Shares and Second Mile for the distribution of those toys. This podcast is about the lights at Central Park, and our interview guests are Kevin and Jennifer McAlexander. And I'm interested to talk to them because on Jingle Bell Holiday, they lit up Central Park in Grinnell very nicely, and I hear raves about it. And I'm just going to throw these questions out, and I don't know who wants to answer them first, but the first question is, how long does it take to put on a display?
That is a great question. Actual installation, we figured rough count was 87 hours just to install, but there are many more hours that go into that, preparing the decorations, and just getting all the details in place, planning purpose-wise. But yeah, 87 hours to get that thing up.
Do you use volunteers? And if so, how many volunteers?
Oh, absolutely. There is absolutely no way that we could do this project without volunteers. I counted to date for just this year, we've used over 30 different people.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have new people every year, which is fabulous. And then I have my, as I'd like to say, our old faithfuls,
yes,
which are just the icing on the cake to this project. So yeah, we do everything, literally everything by volunteer.
Wow, that is great. Now, how do you raise the money for this? Because this has to be somewhat costly, I'm imagining.
Well, it could be if we had to pay for every single thing that was done. This project actually began as something that was started in 2018, and the chamber actually funded that project. But since that time, so 2019 to date, it's actually been budgeted in as an expense for the city of Grinnell.
Oh.
Yeah, and so we do this project on $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Which, yes, oh, wow is exactly right, because we pay for some things, but we find ways to get what we need, and yeah, it really is an amazing thing.
And if it wasn't for our volunteers, there's no way that we could do that.
Yeah.
It just, we can't spread that money that far without a good group of volunteers working to do this.
So speaking of volunteers, how do you recruit them? Because you know, she said you have your old faithfuls, but how do you get the new people on board? Because I'm sure there's people who drop off and you need people to come back on too.
Yeah. I think we have a good, Jennifer has a lot of connections, and I mean, we both do, but she's really good at working her connections. But then we always have people that that just stop us and ask us, hey, I'd like to help with that next year. And so sometimes we just get people that volunteer to be a volunteer. And so that's nice.
Yeah, in a community effort, it was good for me to think about people in my own network, but then how those people fit within the community. So I could pull people from who I knew from my various connections, but then also say, now you go talk to people you know and have them help you in your section of the project. And that's been really helpful too, because we've pulled in people really from within all different areas of the community to help. And that's what makes the project really special, because there's so much community buy-in and support.
And you're working together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's pretty nice. Do each of you have favorite parts of the display?
I do.
Go ahead and hit yours.
Okay, so I thought about this. I was like, oh, if you asked me this question, what would I say? So the lighted arches are one of my favorite features. We started out our very first year with just one set, and now we have 4 that go into the park. This year we're missing one due to lack of electricity, but I love the arches because I feel like they just add that magical element to the park. When you drive around it, it's an obvious feature, and it is so fun to see people get out of the car, no matter the temperature outside, and get their picture taken in the arches. And those so they're magical to drive around and see, but they're also magical to walk through and experience. You kind of get transported into your own little Hallmark story. And then my other favorite thing, actually something that we installed last year that I had Kevin put together, because Kevin's my make it happen man, is the little hot cocoa stand that we have there. And it's so tiny in comparison to all these other features, but it is so fun to watch the little visitors in the park just stop and have fun, pretending to make hot cocoa with the play dishes and picking up the acorns and brewing up something in one of the pots. And so it's just been really fun to watch the little ones. But also we witnessed people last year picking up their Chinese to go order and sitting at the hot cocoa stand in the middle of the park eating. So it's one of those new little fun additions, but it's been really fun to see people experience it.
What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I think I really like the big tree that we lit up in the middle of the park, but I think probably the most favorite thing is the gazebo, and it's a very unique structure, and but when we started, I don't think we were really planning to do a lot of lights on the roof of the gazebo, because it's kind of a weird shape and it's hard to get to. But I said, I feel like I've got to do that gazebo. And so we figured out a way to do it. And that was just something that my mom really liked, traditional Christmas lights. And so I just thought that'd be something that my mom would appreciate if she was around. So I know there's other people around that really like the gazebo being lit up. So that's probably one of my favorites.
That's pretty neat. What is the history of lights at Central Park anyway?
Well, that is a very interesting story. In 2018, Central Park was remodeled, and so reopened, and actually Rachel Kinnick, the Grinnell Area Chamber of Commerce Director, had put out some notifications that, hey, if anybody's interested in coming down and having some brainstorming sessions, we're going to meet at the Shelter House in Central Park, and I would love to just hear people share ideas, things they've seen in other places. Well, I went to 2 of those, not intending to take on a project. And people had shared lots of ideas, but there was no clear plan and there was no clear leader.
You know, I've been on committees and boards too, and that's the way it seems to go a lot of times. So kudos for jumping in on this.
Yeah, so I went home after the second planning meeting and I had all these ideas and going through my head that people had shared. And actually, I was thinking about that today. I had the idea from the classic movie Elf came into my head. And I had that quote, and he said in the movie, I passed through the 7 levels of the candy cane forest, through the sea of swirly twirly gumdrops, and then I walked through the Lincoln Tunnel to get to New York City to find his father. So I took all of those little elements of just that line from the movie with some of the things that people had shared and added some more things. And I went to Rachel and I said, I think I have a plan, but there's no way I can do it by myself. So I proposed the plan, And I targeted certain people that had went to that meeting who, again, I knew, and they were in different circles within the community. And in 6 weeks, we pulled together our first display.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing, man. So, Kevin, you talked a little bit about adding some lights kind of in honor of your mom. You think she would like that and whatnot. So does it change every year? And do you plan on adding more? And do you have goals for additions to the lights at Central Park in the future?
Yeah, we try to add new things each year. There's things that we have that we had that we started out with originally, and we've built on those and added to those. And we're still using some of the beginning elements, and but then every year we try to add a few new little things. So that's it's nice to add some new things, and people are excited to see some new things. And I think it keeps it fresh whenever you put some new things in there.
It's fantastic. When can people see the lights?
So the kickoff, of course, is at Jingle Bell Holiday every year. So they've already begun. And they stay lit. The display is up through December 31st. So one nice thing that I tried to think about is the fact that you don't just have to be there at night to experience the park. I wanted to create a display that was visually appealing and fun during the day, but also added another element at night. So I absolutely recommend that people make a visit during the day and also at night. And typically the lights come on around 3:30, 3:45, maybe a little bit later. Some of them come on and are triggered by the lights coming on within the park because they're on those timers that are set by the city, and then others are on manual timers. So if you come late afternoon, you're likely to get to experience it in the daylight and then also be there when the lights kick on.
So the whole thing is funded by the city, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And then is the electricity funded by the city too? Is that all taken care of?
It is,
Yep.
yeah. And they're all LED lights, so really it's pretty minimal.
Oh, okay. So did you have to get an electrician involved in any of this stuff, or did you just have places to plug in? How did that work?
We've had some power added as we've gone through the years and found areas where there wasn't a good power supply. We've worked with the city to add some strategic outlets, and there's a few more that we could have. One of our challenges this year was the fact that we don't have any power on the corner where the Vets Memorial Building was. Since they took that down, we used power out of that building to power the lights in that corner. So with it being gone at the moment, there will be power there again in the future, but so that just added a little bit of a challenge for us to do anything in that area.
I see.
But yeah, we have had to make some changes.
Okay. All right. So I'm kind of new to Grinnell, doing the podcast here for a few months now, and it's great. I'm from Newton originally, and of course Newton has their own thing going on at Maytag Park with their display. But I've just been amazed, and I don't know how long y'all have lived in Grinnell, at all the ways that Central Park is utilized. I did a podcast with the head of the Park and Rec Department here a few weeks ago about the inclusive playground that's added there. I know the farmers market goes on there. I went to the crowning of the homecoming king and queen there. There's so much stuff going on there. And now, has this changed over the years? Is it more active at Central Park than in the future, or has it always been this way? Do you know?
I would say that the traffic has definitely increased
Good.
since they remodeled it in 2018. It is just a wonderful place to walk through. And with the addition of the playground and just the changes that have been made in the park from that time, I know when we are in the middle of this season, of course, we're down there often at strange hours that most people aren't. And it's not unusual for us during the season to be there at 11 o'clock at night, and there's still people in the park.
Sure.
And in the morning, there's also people in the park. So, it's a favorite place. We had people stop and say, hey, we walk our dogs through here every day. Or you'll have people that came from Hotel Grinnell and they're walking over to the Mexican restaurant and they walk through the park. And so there is a lot of foot traffic, which makes it just a really great place to have in the middle of downtown.
Okay.
And I think the Chamber's done a really good job of having promoting activities in the park. And so they just do a nice job of coming up with ways to use the park. and the city. There's city people involved in that also, the Parks and Rec. But definitely we see a lot of kids and families down there with the playground equipment and things like that.
That's great. Well, is there anything else you guys would like to add about the lights at Central Park?
I think it's always great when people are down there taking pictures. We see them all over Facebook. Then making sure that they tag the Chamber of Commerce because that makes sure that they see them too. And it also just promotes the community. So if they are taking pictures down there with their family each year, which we know many people do, to share those and encourage people to take time to come to Grinnell and visit the display.
That's great. That really is. Well, Central Park got lit up on the night of the Jingle Bell holiday, so you can come down and see it. But for next year, if people want to get their name on the list to volunteer, how can they go about doing that?
Sure. We love to add new names to our volunteer list. The easiest way, they can reach out to the Grinnell Area Chamber of Commerce and leave them a message on Facebook if they would like, with their name and their contact information, and they'll make sure it gets to one of us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today.
You are welcome.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Our interview guests have been Kevin and Jennifer McAlexander, who head up the whole lighting of Central Park in downtown Grinnell. Don't forget to check it out during this holiday season. Until next time, grrr, out is out. See ya.